name is Sandra and I am the Arthritic Artisan. So which craft are we going to be doing today? We are going to be making these sweet little owls out of an MDF cutout from the Dollar Tree and some other simple materials. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's get started. You're going to need an owl cutout from the Dollar Tree, some Mod Podge, some cardstock in several different patterns and colors, some jute twine, some chalk paint. You're going to need some buttons, a sanding block, or an emery board. I use both. It's easier to get in the corners with an emery board. Some foam board, a pattern for the owl's wings, and 2 circles for the eyes. One is going to be 1 1/4 inches round and one is going to be 1 3/4 inches. We're going to start by peeling off the label from the back of the owl and also that hangy tab. Here's a UPC code in case you would like to pick one up at your local Dollar Tree. I'm going to start by taking your chalk paint and we're going to put 2 coats on the front side of the owl. That's the side that did not have the stickers attached to it. We're also going to chalk paint the edges. This is a completely optional step. Since I sell my items, I like to have a finished back, but if you don't want to put a coat of chalk paint or acrylic paint on the back of your owl, you certainly do not have to. Once you get that chalk paint on, you're going to set this aside and let it dry, and I'm going to make 2 owls while we're doing one. I'm not going to bore you by making you watch all the steps for both owls. Next, we are going to make a pattern for the wing. You're going to start at the underneath side of the wing and go up to the neck and just trace it out. You're going to bring that line down and create a heart shape just like I'm showing here. Then you're going to get your scissors and cut out that heart shape. And it should look something like that. Here's the 2 circles that you're going to need. And we're going to trace these onto the foam board. 2 of each size, and then 2 wings. And you're going to need 2 of each per owl. If you're making 2, you're going to need 4 of each. Now the easiest way to cut this out of foam board is with a craft knife, and you want to make sure that you have a really sharp blade. I peel the paper backing off of the foam board. I just find that it's easier to cut through it. Also, I hold my craft knife stationary and I move the foam board around the blade of the craft knife, kind of like you're feeding it through a scroll saw or something. You're going to continue cutting out these pieces until you have all 6 pieces cut out. Once you have your 6 pieces cut out, take your sanding block or your emery board and just smooth out the edges of the foam board. You can sand it down in case you miscut. You can sand it down to where that cutting line actually was. Once you get done with that, just clean up all that sanding dust that's left behind. We're going to peel the paper backing off of the pieces that you just cut out, and the reason for that is because we are going to eventually be gluing these down, and in case anything happens to the owl, we don't want a wing to pop off because we glued paper to paper. Look, my ghost is messing with me. You see him? Watch. Did you notice in the beginning of the video that my chalk paint moved by itself? I swear I have a ghost in this room. All right, that's enough. That's enough. Okay, on with the show. Okay, so we're going to have to sit and decide the patterns that we want together, and these are the patterns that I've chosen for my 2 owls. It's going to be completely up to you. There's no rhyme or reason to this. Just make sure that each one's a little bit different, or if you want them all to be the same, cut all the pieces out of the same pattern. And put a layer of Mod Podge on the back of your foam pieces and lay them down on the cardstock, on the back of the cardstock, and we're going to set that aside. And once we get done gluing all these pieces, we're going to stack everything up and put it under a heavy weight. And the reason why we do this is because Mod Podge is a liquid and you're applying it to a cardstock, which is a paper, and it has a tendency to want to get wrinkly, and we just really don't want that. So in order to make sure that it's smooth, we're just going to weigh it down until it's dry. You're going to do the same thing with the owls. You're going to put a layer of Mod Podge on the side that you took the stickers off of. Then you're going to get a credit card or anything stiff, a squeegee, and remove all the air bubbles out from underneath. And just stack everything up and put a bottle or whatever you have available that weighs something. I've got a mason jar with some paint sticks in it here, and I'll see you back here once everything's dry. All right, now that everything's dry, we're just going to remove the weight and set it aside. Take all those pieces out. If you notice, that paper has no ridges and it should be completely smooth. We're going to get some scissors and a craft knife, and we're going to get ready to just trim all the paper away from the shapes. Once you're done cutting out all the shapes, we're going to get that craft knife out and cut the paper away from the owls. And a craft knife is a lot easier to use than scissors when you're trying to trim the paper away from these tiny little edges. You could, in the beginning, before you glue it, trace the owl onto the paper and then lay the paper onto the glue. I like to do it this way because it's just more of a perfect alignment. Once you get that owl cut out, you're going to take that abrasive sandpaper and you're going to sand down the edges of the paper. This is going to create a smooth transition between the paper and the foam board, and also the paper and the wood owl. And it's also going to make those edges look worn, and that's what we're after here. We really want those edges to look worn, like these owls have been around for a while. Once you have all the edges sanded, it's time for the fun part. We're going to put everything together. We're going to start by hot gluing the wings down. Very simple, just put a little bit of hot glue on the back of the wing, hold it down for a second. Then we're going to do the big circle for the eyes. And pay attention to the pattern of your paper, because if you have like the squiggly line one like I have, then the direction of the squiggly lines is going to really matter. Then we're going to glue the smaller circles onto the bigger circles, and you can really have some fun here. I'm having one owl look off to the left and one owl look off to the right. But you can make them one eye up, one eye down. You can have them looking up, have them looking down. Just run with it. Whatever you're feeling and whatever that owl is telling you is exactly what you need to do with the eyes. Once you have both circles in place, you're just going to add a couple of buttons to the eyes, and this is just going to act as the pupils. If you don't have buttons, you can use anything else that you happen to have. You can use a little piece of wood or a piece of fabric. You could even use a third smaller circle if you wanted to do that. Now we're going to take some jute twine and make the bows. We are going to wrap the jute twine around 3 fingers about 4 times. Then we're going to gather it in the center and tie it off with another piece of jute. I have said it in prior videos that I am one of the worst teachers in the world, and I am so glad that there are pictures here so you can see exactly what it is that I'm doing. You're going to want to make 3 of these bundles. Then you're going to add some hot glue and glue them together. This is going to make a flower. Once the glue has dried, you're going to just fluff out the loops, add some hot glue to the back, and just glue it down to her ear. Easy peasy. Just add a button or a gem, a jewel, whatever you want to the center of that flower. For the bow, we're going to wrap the jute around 3 fingers 3 to 4 times. Also going to tie that off in the center, but you're going to leave a tail at the end of this jute, and we're going to use that to wrap it around his neck. Once you have that tied tight, add some hot glue, glue it into the center where his chin should be. We're going to take the jute and wrap it around his neck, and this is going to prevent having a knot on the back of the owl's head. Hot glue that in place right under the bow that you just put there. and trim off the excess jute. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Once you have the jute bow glued down and you have the ends trimmed off, we're going to make a stand for the back of the owl. I'm using tumbling tower blocks and I'm gluing 2 together. You will want to use 2 of these if you're going to use these as the kickstand for the owls. Trust me, I've used 1 and it just doesn't work out. Glue 2 of them together, then add a bead of hot glue. Glue it to the back of the owl right by the feet. Then you're going to want to lean the owl back a little bit at an angle. And that's going to help it to want to stand up straight. Oops, almost forgot the button on his bow tie. I'm trying to show you here in the video how you lean it back a little bit just to catch that angle. Otherwise, they're just going to fall forward. And guess what, y'all? We are done. Let me know in the comments section below what you think about this quick and easy craft. Give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell to get notified about all future videos and projects. And until next time, have a magical day.